Steven Kittirat a interviewé plus de 700 personnalités atypiques. Depuis 2016, il s'est donné une mission, mettre en lumière des parcours inspirants. Ce n'est pas son métier, mais Steven a tout d'un professionnel. Une longévité rare, une curiosité insatiable et une audace rafraîchissante. Au cours de son parcours, il a interviewé entre autres Philippe Croizon, l'inventeur du TGV ou celui de la carte à puce. Toutes ces rencontres l'ont mené à réaliser des projets ambitieux. Il a notamment réalisé un documentaire primé à Rome, une conférence TEDx, Vivre sa vie, ou encore des entretiens dans des lieux insolites, du sommet d'un volcan à la grotte d'un explorateur. Son mantra, n'ayez pas peur de briller, mais veillez toujours à éclairer le chemin des autres.
Bonjour à toutes, bonjour à tous, bonjour Chloé.
So hello Stephen, hello Mr. Fahlman, and thank you for being here.
Hello, very nice to meet you.
C'est un grand plaisir de recevoir Scott Fahlman, qui est alors professeur en informatique à l'université de Carnegie, et il est connu mondialement pour son invention, parce que c'est l'inventeur de l'émoticône.
So in English, we are very happy to have you on this interview, Mr. Fahlman, Mr. Scott Fahlman, because you're the inventor of the emoticons, the one that is smiling and the one that is sulking. I don't know how to say in English, but
frowny.
Yeah. Tell me again.
Smiley and frowny.
And frowny, smiley and frowny. Okay. And you were a teacher of computer science in Carnegie University, is that right? Carnegie Mellon.
Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, and primarily doing research, but some teaching.
Okay, so I'll tell it in French. Donc, il était bien professeur à Carnegie Mellon et il était prof et chercheur en même temps. Voilà.
Donc, aussi spécialiste en intelligence artificielle.
Specializing in AI, artificial intelligence.
Dans lequel il a écrit un livre récemment.
In which you wrote a book recently. Is that correct?
It's not complete yet. I'm working on it.
It's not complete yet. Il n'est pas encore fini ce livre. Ok.
Ok. Alors, première question pour Scott. Comment est venue l'idée de créer des émoticônes en 1982?
First question for you, how did you have the idea of creating emoticons in 1982, en 1982?
Well, you have to understand that the world was very different in those days. We didn't have nice display terminals like we're using now. We couldn't even make pictures. We couldn't make emojis. We had time-shared computers that 100 of us were on at once. And then in our office or at home, we had a screen with only characters. And it was the ASCII characters, so English language characters, upper and lower case, some numbers, and some punctuation. So that's all I could send you. I couldn't send you any, even if I had the idea for an emoji, I couldn't send that.
So, I'll tell it in French. Alors, ce que Scott nous explique, c'est qu'à ce moment-là, évidemment, on n'était pas du tout dans des moments où on avait accès à tous les visuels qu'on a actuellement. À l'époque, il y avait minuscules, majuscules, ponctuation, les chiffres, et c'est à peu près tout. Et les ordinateurs n'étaient pas disponibles à temps complet. On les avait avec un temps partagé. Enfin, là où ils travaillaient en 1982, imaginez-vous, même nous n'avions pas d'ordinateur. Donc, c'était un luxe, quelque part, d'avoir accès à l'ordinateur et encore plus on n'avait pas d'image, on avait juste des caractères. Donc, c'est dans ce contexte-là que Scott Fahlman a créé les émoticônes. Donc, celui qui sourit et celui qui fait la gueule.
So, we could send text-only messages, email, to other people at Carnegie Mellon, and to other people on the very primitive network we had, which was called the ARPANET. It's before the internet. I couldn't send a photo. I certainly couldn't send a video.
Okay.
I could send text messages. And very soon we had social media. And social media were bulletin boards. And I could send a message to that. And then everyone could see it. So we had bulletin boards for different topics.
When was it the social media? When did it start?
Much later, in the 1990s for most people.
1990s, yeah. And just tell me, the text you were sending, the emails you were sending, it was only in the inside of Carnegie, right? Or you could...
I could send to MIT, I could send to Stanford, I could send to some parts of the US government and other labs. But people in their homes had no internet, no computers.
Yeah, I understand.
So I couldn't send email to my mother. I couldn't send email to you.
Yeah.
It was just people on this very primitive ARPANET at a small number of universities and laboratories.
In universities. Okay, let me translate. Alors, ce qu'il dit, c'est qu'à l'époque, on n'avait pas de mail, on n'avait pas Internet, et on pouvait seulement envoyer des mails à l'intérieur, enfin, dans un certain réseau, donc de Carnegie Mellon à Carnegie Mellon, d'autres personnes qui travaillaient avec lui dans l'université, mais aussi au gouvernement, à certains labos, au MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, à d'autres universités, à Stanford. Mais c'était vraiment balbutiant, hein. Ça n'existait vraiment pas encore les emails en 1982. Et on parlait des réseaux sociaux dans lesquels on a commencé à voir des émoticônes aussi, des emojis. Ça, c'était dans les années 1990. Et ça, je pense que c'était aux États-Unis parce que chez nous, I'm adding something is that it was only in the US, I think, that the social media were working in the 90s, because in our countries, I think it's rather in the 2000 years. It was, yeah.
Yes, it became possible in the 90s, but the expansion into everyone's home came later.
Yeah, right. Okay.
People had to say, oh, this is cool. I can look up movies. I can send mail to my family and friends. I want a computer in my house. And there was really no social media until that appeared.
When did you have your computer, Mr. Fahlman?
Well, I had a computer at home. I was lucky.
Oh,
because I was at one of the best CS universities in the world.
So you had it since like 1980 something?
Well, when I was writing my PhD thesis in the 1970s, I had to come into MIT. I was at MIT then. And I could type there.
Oh.
But I didn't have a machine at home. When I moved to Carnegie Mellon and I'm faculty, then I had a character terminal, but it was only 300 bits per second. So the characters would appear one at a time.
Yes, but when did you have your own computer at home, I would say?
I had my own terminal at home. It was driven by the machine at CMU, and it would display the characters that were sent.
So when was it?
That was pretty much 78, 79.
Oh, ok. Alors là, M. Fahlman nous explique qu'il a été l'un des premiers à avoir un ordinateur. En fait, il a eu de la chance parce qu'en travaillant à Carnegie et au MIT aussi, il avait un terminal chez lui assez tôt, donc dans les années 70 carrément. Donc, bon, c'était pas du tout le cas de tout le monde. Hein. Ok. But just one thing. I don't know, how did you have the idea of writing the dots and the, you know?
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Face, yes.
As I said, very soon we had bulletin boards.
Yeah.
So I could say, you know, a talk announcement. There's a talk at 4 p.m. and all my faculty colleagues and our graduate students could see that on the bulletin board. And there was one for lost and found. There was one for administration. There were several for different parts of AI that people had technical conversations. And pretty soon, you know, scientists, right? Pretty soon science nerds started sarcastic humor on these bulletin boards.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Kind of social media, but just among us.
Okay.
And someone would post a joke.
Yeah.
And someone else would think it was serious. And they would say, oh, no, that's a terrible thing to say. You shouldn't say that. And everybody would say, oh, we have to, you know, we have to explain everything to this guy. And eventually the idea came along that we needed some way to say very easily, I'm only kidding. It's not serious. Okay,
Wow.
so we tried different things. I was trying to think of a way. Back in the 1960s, there were T-shirts with smiling faces.
Yeah.
And posters, big yellow circles, like today's emoji almost.
Yeah.
Could we do that on a keyboard with just the ASCII characters?
Uh-huh.
And how could you do a smiling face with just those characters? And so I looked at the keyboard, and the first thing you need is eyes if you're going to make a face.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no character in the English alphabet. If I was German, it could have been an umlaut.
Oh, yes, but not in English.
But all we had was the colon, and unfortunately, it was the wrong way. It was up and down.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, I thought you could make a really nice smiling face, but it's sideways. And so, but maybe people would recognize it. And so I wrote this little message. It was, very short. You can see it online. It's a few words. And I said, if you're joking, you do colon minus and the parenthesis and the smiling parenthesis.
Yes.
And if you're saying, no, I'm really serious, then you do the frowning.
The other way. Yeah.
And very quickly, and I thought that would amuse the 10 people in that discussion, and that would be the end of it. That was 1982 in September.
Incredible.
And it started to spread just among our community because nobody else could see this. So it started to spread to the other people. And a week later, people were using this, and it was a surprise. I didn't even save a copy. We had to find it later on backup tapes.
Incredible. Do you remember the name of this guy that who didn't understand when you were in a humor or if you were serious?
There's the whole discussion that led to it is on my website.
Oh, I have to find out.
If you Google Scott Fahlman,
right,
and go to my homepage, one of the lines is Smiley lore, and that tells the whole story, and you can see the whole discussion.
Okay, so we'll tell the people who are listening. Yeah.
So the discussion was about, we're nerds, right? We're scientists. The discussion was about if you're in an elevator and if the cable breaks and you're in free fall,
yeah.
If there was a bird flying, would it be disoriented? Would it fly upside down sometimes?
Yeah.
And if there were a candle, you're in zero gravity because you're falling. So if there was a candle with no gravity, would the flame go out because there's no gravity to drive the convection current?
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, if there was a puddle of mercury on the floor, it would pull up into a sphere because it's weightless now.
Mm-hmm.
And that would cause it to lift up off the floor. And then one of my colleagues posted something, actually it was a student, posted something that said, due to recent physics experiments, the left-hand elevator in the science building can't be used because of flame damage and mercury contamination. Referring to this message.
Okay, so that was the very message that started it all.
Yes, and you can see the whole thread on my website.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, let me translate. Alors, là, on est en train de retracer l'historique de ce petit émoticône, celui qui sourit et celui qui est pas content. Alors, en fait, ça part d'une discussion qu'ils ont eue entre scientifiques dans leur messagerie, comme ça. Et ils avaient fait une blague autour d'une mouche qui était dans un ascenseur qui tombait en chute libre. Il y avait une sorte de bulle de mercure. Enfin, il y avait tout un truc. Et il y avait une phrase qui avait été dite. Et d'ailleurs, il nous dit, Scott, qu'on peut aller sur son site pour voir vraiment l'historique du début de cette histoire. Et il y avait quelqu'un, dont j'ai demandé le nom tout à l'heure, mais je n'ai pas encore la réponse, qui ne comprenait pas que c'était une blague. Et pour qu'on comprenne que c'était une blague, Scott a regardé son clavier, il s'est dit mais comment on peut faire un petit visage, parce qu'à l'époque en fait il nous explique que dans les années 60 il y avait déjà des visages sur des t-shirts ou sur des posters, tu sais, un rond comme ça avec 2 yeux, un nez et une bouche qui souriaient. Donc, cette image n'était pas inconnue, mais on ne pouvait pas le faire sur le clavier avec la ponctuation et juste les lettres qu'on avait à disposition. Donc, il a regardé attentivement et il a vu que si on mettait de côté le visage avec les 2 points, le trait et une parenthèse dans un sens ou dans l'autre, ça faisait le visage, mais un peu penché simplement. Et il pensait que cette figure qu'il avait inventée n'irait pas plus loin que la discussion qu'il avait avec ses collègues, que ça toucherait 10 personnes et puis que ça resterait en interne pour toujours. Et puis, incroyablement, ça s'est diffusé. Donc, c'était 1982. Il était surpris, il ne savait pas du tout. Et donc, on peut retrouver toute cette histoire sur son site. Donc, il faut aller voir son site pour avoir l'exact déroulé des choses. Et c'est incroyable parce que c'est vraiment un hasard, en fait.
C'est souvent comme ça, les inventions.
Ouais.
Qu'est-ce qu'il pense de l'évolution des émoticônes vers les émojis modernes? Et qu'est-ce qu'il pense de cet impact dans la communication actuelle?
Alors, so what do you think about the evolution of these emoticons you created, in a way, to the emojis that are on this board, like you can see them? How did they impact? How do this evolution impact the communication, the whole communication, do you think?
Well, the amazing thing to us was that this started to spread. I thought, it would be over the next day. It would last a week. Here we are 40 some years talking about it. It spread through Carnegie Mellon. People were using it in their email. And it very quickly turned into I'm happy and I'm sad, not this is just a joke or I'm serious. And then we realized that people at MIT were using it and people at Stanford were using it. And then we realized people were creating, you can see some of them on the screen if we're looking at the same screen, all these little variations, still text only. But you can make Abraham Lincoln, you can make Santa Claus, you can make the Pope, and so on. And all with the characters, you just have to look at them sideways. And it spread through the ARPANET, which was this dozen in places, labs and universities. And then it couldn't go any farther because nobody else could talk to this. Nobody else could do this. But one by one, that very year, the US government decided that this wouldn't just be a Department of Defense network. They were going to open it up to all the universities that could afford to buy the right equipment. So one by one, other universities joined.
In the ARPANET, you mean?
Yeah, it became the internet. It was turned over to the National Science Foundation instead of the Army. And then it got connected to a network in the UK. It got connected to a network in continental Europe. I don't know if it was France. Got connected eventually pretty soon to Japan. And as these little regional networks grew up, now we can send email to everybody. And when I see that you're on the network now, and if we're friends, I might send you a thing saying, "Oh, welcome to the internet," and have a smiley face. You say, "What's that?" And it's spreading. So as the internet grew,
yes,
everybody who had this capability suddenly had the emoticons, the text emoticons. Now, it was many years, it was like more than a decade before people could have a bitmap display with color.
Yeah.
It would have been, maybe there was a graphics lab somewhere in the world that had this in 1982, but normal people or even scientists did not have bitmap displays with colors, so they couldn't have done emoji.
No.
And they couldn't have sent a photo of themselves smiling or frowning. Okay, so they were stuck with these characters. And it spread through the world. It was the first thing, I think I can claim, it was the first thing that went viral on the internet, because it was there and ready to go viral the day the internet was created. So, and it spread and it spread and it spread.
So the emojis, when you know, when they were created, these ones you can see here, they were.
So, first of all, you had, when people were first getting on the internet, it was still almost all text. They could send a photo.
Yeah.
They could send a little bitmap display. But really, the emojis came along when there were cell phones.
Oh, right.
Okay, there was a fellow at a company called Docomo in Japan who made a whole set of these things, the set you see on the screen maybe.
He's the one who created them.
Yes.
Docomo. Okay.
Well,
So,
he proposed the first set of emoji that people could use. And you send a little code and then you get smiley face number 3, you know, or crying face.
so it was
there was a problem because if you had a different brand of phone, the code 3 might be the pile of poop or a dog or something. And I'm trying to send you a smiling face.
Okay, so
they had to standardize these codes to.
Yeah, sure. Who is well, it was in 2010 or something.
About then, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me translate all this. So let's talk about the beginning. Donc on posait la question comment les émoticônes se sont transformés en emojis et comment il a vu l'évolution de tout cela. Donc ce qu'il nous expliquait, Scott, c'est que donc les émoticônes, donc les petits traits avec les barres et les parenthèses et tous les petits bonhommes qu'on peut voir là sur ce fond d'écran, ont commencé à se répandre dans Carnegie, au MIT, à Stanford, dans les universités qui avaient accès avec le ARPANET, donc c'était l'Internet à l'époque, qui était uniquement entre ces entités que j'ai citées au début, les universités, etc., le gouvernement et certains labos. Et les deux émoticônes qu'a créé Scott, donc celui qui sourit et celui qui fait la gueule, au départ, ils étaient conçus pour distinguer une phrase qui était humoristique et une phrase qui était sérieuse. Et en fait, ça a été détourné et c'est devenu des émoticônes qui ont servi à donner l'humeur de la personne qui parlait. S'il mettait un émoticône qui sourit, c'était qu'il était content, et s'il n'était pas content, c'était avec la parenthèse dans l'autre sens. Et ensuite, il y a eu d'autres personnages qui ont émergé, comme on peut le voir ici, avec différentes combinaisons de ponctuation. Et puis ensuite, ça s'est vraiment répandu. Ça s'est ouvert au moment où Internet est arrivé. C'était vers les années 2000, un peu avant, où là, vraiment, tous ces émoticônes se sont démocratisés. Ils ont été répandus partout. Et alors, quand le moment où les émoticônes sont devenus des emojis, c'est au moment où les téléphones portables sont apparus. Donc, c'est plutôt dans les années 2010, les smartphones. Et c'est là qu'on a vu ces petits bonhommes qui étaient en fait du code. Hein. C'est plus juste des petits symboles de ponctuation, mais c'était carrément des programmes informatiques pour dessiner ces petits visages. Et ce que je voulais dire, aussi dans les années 1990, les émoticônes simples ont été ouverts. Là, il nous disait, Scott, d'abord des États-Unis jusqu'en Angleterre, ensuite en Europe, un peu partout. Il ne savait pas si la France avait été tout de suite concernée. Et au Japon. Voilà, c'est les 3 zones qui ont été les premières à avoir accès à cette standardisation des émoticônes. Alors, on devine dans ce que nous dit Scott qu'il est plutôt content de cette évolution parce qu'il ne nous a pas dit exactement ce qu'il en pensait. Oui. Mais je sens qu'il est plutôt favorable. Voilà.
Qu'est-ce que ça lui fait aujourd'hui de voir que c'est utilisé dans le monde entier par des milliards de personnes?
So, how does it feel to know that it's that your babies are used in the whole world, or well, in a way?
It's been fun to watch it spread through the world, and some days it's great, and some days I'm wish I hadn't done that, but mostly it's been fun, and it's fun to be a little bit famous for something. You know, this was 10 minutes of my life 43 years ago, just writing a silly message. We didn't save a copy because it was just email. I didn't think, who knew? Backup, saving email, saving anything was expensive. Disks were expensive.
Oh, that's why.
So, but everything went to backup tapes. So 20 years later, a friend of mine who'd been around when the first message went by said, we have to find that first message. So he actually sponsored kind of an archaeological dig through the old tapes, the backup tapes, looking for the message. And they found it.
Oh, they found it.
It was a big effort and a whole lot of people involved, and they found them just in time for the 20th anniversary of the Smiley. So I didn't even know the date, but it turns out it was just in time for the 20th anniversary.
It was a friend of yours, or you didn't know him?
No, he was a friend. He had been at Carnegie Mellon when this started. He saw this happen. And people were saying, well, no, you didn't really do that. You know, you don't even have the message, you know.
Yes, he did.
Somebody else must have invented this, you know, and he said, let's find that message, you know, we'll show them. And so a bunch of people were involved. They did a lot of work and they found the message. And, you know, so that's on my website now.
Yeah, we're going to find it. Let me translate this. Alors, il disait qu'en fait, ça lui fait, c'est rigolo, enfin, il dit c'est fun de savoir que pendant ces 10 minutes de déconnade, entre guillemets, où il a créé ces petits bonhommes, c'est devenu un phénomène mondial. Il nous a dit, et ça j'aimerais creuser là-dessus, que la plupart du temps, il est content de savoir que c'est lui qui a fait ça, d'avoir au moins créé quelque chose, mais parfois ça le rend triste, et j'aimerais bien savoir dans quelle situation, dans quelles circonstances il est moins content de cette chose-là. Mais il nous a expliqué là que à l'époque, il n'y avait pas de sauvegarde en fait des emails, parce qu'il a fait ça sur un email, et que c'était très cher de faire des sauvegardes, et qu'un ami à lui, qu'il avait à Carnegie Mellon, a décidé 20 ans plus tard, 20 ans après l'invention des émoticônes, donc par Scott Fahlman, de retrouver ces fameux emails. Et en fait, il a retrouvé des copies quand même. Il a fouillé, il a fait un travail d'archéologue, il a fini par trouver le premier email. Et tout ça, c'est sur son site, donc je vous invite à aller voir. Mais je vais lui poser la question, dans quelles circonstances il n'est pas fier en fait de cette découverte-là. One question, Scott, you said just now that you weren't happy all the time about your discoveries, your little characters. So tell us about it. What do you feel sometimes?
Well, you know, people use too many of these sometimes. And I'm not a big fan of the emoji, personally. I like the text ones, you know, I'm biased.
Yeah, sure.
But I think to come up with a text one takes a little bit of creativity, and then just to draw a yellow face is just ugly, I think.
Okay.
What I don't like is when I'm typing in software and I type colon minus parenthesis, and it grabs it and turns it into a yellow face. I hate that. So
what you mean.
If it asks, do you want to turn this into a yellow face? Fine. Or do you always want to turn it? But the software just assumes that you're trying to type an emoji, and off we go. So I have to trick it into letting me put my characters in there.
Oh, it's as if they were erasing your work in a way. Yeah. Ok. En fait, il est un peu triste quand il voit que sur des ordinateurs, quand tu tapes un texte et tu mets 2 points, un trait, une parenthèse, ça le transforme en un emoji directement. En fait, on voit plus le personnage de départ simple avec la ponctuation, le squelette, exactement. Ouais, c'est ça.
Ça fait ça.
Donc, il essaye de faire des trucs, de passer par des petites astuces pour garder les 2 points et tout ça, et la parenthèse, mais ça le rend un peu nostalgique, enfin, triste, que son travail ait été un peu bâclé, enfin un peu détourné. Et puis, il nous disait aussi que les gens utilisent trop d'émojis à son goût. Ça perd la saveur du texte, en fait.
Ouais, ça fait comme un truc égyptien, hiéroglyphe.
It looks. Stephen is saying that thing that I think is right. The emoticons you created look like hieroglyphs. I don't know how to say in English.
Hieroglyphics, yes.
Hieroglyphics, yeah. So it's nice.
Yes, people always ask if this is the new language. Will we get rid of words and just use these things? And you can't. I mean, these are good for nouns. Yeah. Emojis are good for objects.
Yeah.
They're good for human moods. You can't say, well, maybe I'll go to the movies, but I don't really feel that well, you know.
No.
I mean, anything complicated. And the Egyptians found this out. You know, they had their picture language, hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
And after a time, they had to take the sound of a picture of an ox because they had to create words that weren't easily depicted in a picture of some kind. So they just turned a bunch of the pictures of animals and people and so on, objects, into the sound of that word. And then that was used to kind of create a phonetic language like we have in pretty much all the languages in the modern world.
I didn't know. So it's how they could write a whole phrase, a whole sentence.
Yeah, they're just things that don't lend themselves to pictures very well.
Ok, alors il nous disait que justement, ça ressemble aux hiéroglyphes, sauf que avec les émoticônes, on ne peut pas vraiment créer une phrase. On peut remplacer les émoticônes peuvent remplacer des noms, des animaux, des objets, des humeurs, mais pas des verbes, par exemple, pas des mouvements, pas des phrases compliquées, pas des explications détaillées. Contrairement aux hiéroglyphes, il nous dit là que les hiéroglyphes, en fait, c'était plutôt des sons. Enfin, il y avait des images, mais il y avait aussi des animaux, par exemple, et il fallait entendre le son qui était représenté par l'animal. Alors, je ne sais pas exactement si c'est le son du cri de l'animal ou si c'est le son qui désigne l'animal, mais en tout cas, il nous parle de hiéroglyphes comme d'un langage sonore, en fait. Je ne sais pas. One last question.
Est-ce qu'il avait envisagé d'autres symboles avant d'avoir finalisé celui qu'on connaît en 1982?
Oh, did you before choosing these two emoticons, the smiley, the frowny, did you have other ideas of other characters or other mood or other significance of anything that you would like to figure out?
As I said, the first thing you need is eyes if you're going to make a face.
Yeah.
And the colon is just about the only character in the ASCII character set, in the early simple character set, that would do that. Now, the Japanese have solved a problem I couldn't. There's an Asian kind of emoji that's got eyes and a mouth, kind of the side of the head.
The one that is on the screen here?
Screen there, yeah, fourth from the
yeah.
Right. But for me, you know, it started with the colon, and it had to be sideways, and then there wasn't. The one thing I wish I had done was the winky face with the semicolon.
You didn't?
I like that. I use that a lot too, but I didn't think of that one. And you know, there are a lot of other ones you can do, but you know, it became a game, and a lot of them are. If I tell you this is Abraham Lincoln, or I tell you it's a crocodile, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, yeah, I see that. But if I just sent it to you, you'd say, what in the world's that? I don't know what that is.
Okay.
So it's not really communication. It's a game, or it's decoration, or it's a few things it communicates well, like happy and sad.
Yeah. Alors, non, il n'a pas créé d'autres personnages, mais il dit qu'au Japon, les personnages japonais, comme celui-là qu'on voit sur l'écran, le quatrième à droite, c'est des choses qui ont été créées en parallèle, mais que lui, il n'a pas créé parce que c'était plutôt adapté pour des gens asiatiques. Et il dit qu'il regrette de ne pas avoir créé l'émoticône qui fait un clin d'œil. Il n'a pas pensé à la virgule, à point-virgule, en fait.
The other thing I should say is with foreign character sets now, the whole Unicode, with foreign character sets, we can do much, much better. You can do all kinds of...
Alors, ce qu'il nous dit aussi, c'est qu'avec les caractères, les symboles étrangers de toutes les langues, on peut faire de nombreuses... Il il y a d'innombrables variantes d'émoticônes. Et ce qu'il disait aussi avant, c'est que les émoticônes, c'est pas vraiment une communication, c'est plutôt un jeu, c'est plutôt pour rigoler, c'est un complément, mais ça permet pas de donner vraiment du sens enfin, à ce qu'on veut dire. Enfin, oui, ça rajoute du sens, mais ça ne suffit pas.
Alors, question plus maintenant sur l'intelligence artificielle. Il a donné une conférence de Davos en 2018 lors du Forum économique mondial. Pourquoi les organisateurs, selon lui, l'ont-ils invité à parler d'intelligence artificielle et quel message, lui, il a voulu transmettre?
So, you were invited at the WEF, at the World Economic Forum in 2018. Is that correct?
No, it was the World Communication Forum in Davos.
World Communication.
Wasn't the one all the billionaires go to, because I did.
Okay.
But it was communication professionals. It was PR people. It was people who created trademarks. They wanted to know how I'd created effectively a trademark.
Okay.
That had spread all around the world and that people liked. And that, and I wasn't spending any money to promote this. You know, I didn't even know it was spreading. You know, and these people create trademarks like Coca-Cola, you know.
I see what you mean.
And then they say, you know, spend a lot of money so that people see that and they think about the drink and they feel good and they feel warmly toward that. And this just by itself took off.
And they wanted you to be here about...
Well, they wanted me to, they wanted to know the secret.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the secret, I think, there is no secret. But the nice thing about my emoticons compared to the emoji, there's now these bureaucratic organizations who have to decide all these social issues. You know, how many different skin tones? Long hair, short hair. Does long hair always mean a woman? Well, that's cultural. You know, it gets very, very complicated. And these people are standards people. They don't want to decide how many different genders you need, how many different skin tones. And, you know, my smiley face is pure smile. It's nothing else. It's not male. It's not female. It just looks like all of us. So,
and it was it about the artificial intelligence too? Because Stephen has told me it's about artificial intelligence. Was it?
This was more about being on the internet, the network at the right time, I think, and having a weird sense of humor. But I do work on language understanding, so maybe some of that crept in.
Okay. So there was no AI link for you there. Okay.
I don't think so.
Ok, alors en fait, il n'a pas été invité pour l'intelligence artificielle, mais c'était pour connaître les secrets des émoticônes pour les personnes qui étaient en train de créer des trademarks. Donc, c'est les logos en fait de Coca-Cola ou d'autres grandes marques qui étaient là à ce moment-là. C'était pas le forum économique de Davos, c'était le forum de communication mondiale. Alors, c'était au même endroit, mais c'était pas tout à fait la réunion des milliardaires, ce qu'il nous dit. Okay. Et en fait, donc voilà, il a rencontré des gens qui voulaient connaître son secret. Et l'autre secret, c'est qu'il n'y a pas de secret, en fait.
Okay.
Donc voilà.
Bon, moi, c'est bon, j'ai plus de questions.
C'est tout bon?
Ouais. Peut-être un message, comme j'aime bien. Est-ce qu'il a un message pour la jeunesse
The last question that Stephen has for you is, do you have a special message to the youth, to young people that would listen to this interview today? What would you tell them?
Have fun and keep smiling.
Superbe. Have fun and keep smiling, ça veut dire amusez-vous et continuez à sourire. Voilà le message.
Bon, super. Merci beaucoup, Scott, vraiment, pour ce moment de partage. Et c'est vraiment assez sympa. Hein.
So Stephen is saying, and I am saying to you, thank you very much for this wonderful moment of sharing and very, very interesting moment with you. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you one day. Great.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Est-ce là, il a écrit un livre. Est-ce qu'il peut nous en dire un peu ou pas du tout?
Another question about your book. Stephen is asking, could you tell us something about your book that you?
Well, as you may have heard, AI is very popular right now.
Yeah.
And everyone is using one particular technique, which is based on machine learning and learning from huge amounts of text.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to persuade them that there are some old ideas they should look at again that have to do with symbolically representing just the meaning of the words you see. So not doing it with huge amounts of mathematics, just representing, some statement, Clyde is an elephant, and being able to reason with that and being able to deduce that Clyde is probably gray and so on. I think we need to look again at some of those older ideas. So I'm trying to, it's difficult to persuade people right now.
That's good. It's a good idea, I think. Thank you. En fait, il est en train de faire, donc dans ce livre, il essaye de revenir à l'origine des choses. Et il dit qu'avec l'intelligence artificielle, on compile des monstrueuses quantités de textes, on fait des résumés, on fait des choses comme ça. Et lui, il aimerait bien revenir au basique, des choses plus simples, l'utiliser de façon plus sobre pour qu'on se rende compte de ce qui est nos origines, en fait, et qu'on ne se laisse pas emballer par une sorte d'accumulation de performance, quoi. C'est comme ça que je le comprends.
Excellent. Bon, thank you, Scott, pour ce moment.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Scott.
Bye-bye.